Hello friends, it is Stasia and welcome back to my channel. Happy Bookmas. This is day, I don't know the order that my videos are going up, but today we will be doing my October and November wrap up. October I only read 4 books and in November I read 9 books, so it should be a fairly quick wrap up. But we're gonna start my wrap up as we do every single time with my book haul. So first I'm gonna go over all of the books that I bought myself, and then we'll go into the books that I was gifted for whatever reason. So I'm gonna fly through these pretty quickly, mostly because I probably don't know what they're about, but also because I have not read them yet, so I have nothing to say about them. So to start us off, we have Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I heard I'm going to cry my eyes out. Then we have Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. The Christmas Tree Farm by Lori Gilmore. I'm reading this for Bookmas, so a video should be out sometime in December for this one. Only and Forever by Chloe Leese. Then I got The Rebel King and The Kingmaker, both by Kennedy Ryan. I got June 1st, also by Jennifer Hartman. Also will probably make me cry, I've heard. Then I got The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. I read The Last Thing He Told Me and enjoyed it, so I got this one as well. And then the last book I purchased for myself was Christmas Cupid by Isla Madden Mills. This is the December pick for the Mending Hearts Book Club, super short novella, so I will also be reading this in the month of December. Then the books that I was gifted in one way or another. First I got King of Pride by Anna Huang. This is book 2 in the Kings of Sin series. I read the first one, King of Wrath, and really enjoyed it. Then I got The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the first in a series, and that's about all I can tell you. Then I got Northwoods by Amy Pease. Only in Your Dreams by Ellie K. Wilde. This is an arc that'll be out in January, so I'll definitely be reading this soon as well. Then I got the special edition of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Absolutely gorgeous. Then I got Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This is book 2 after Unsteady, and because I got an arc of this coming out in February, that's the reason why I bought book 1. Then I got the special edition of It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've not read this one yet, so I have no thoughts or feelings. Then I got Under Lock and Key, which I'm actually currently reading, but I got the ebook first, so now I have a physical. Designs on You by J.C. Burton. Broken Harbor by Catherine Cowles. I actually have already read this in November, so I will give you thoughts on this soon. Then I got The Jewel of the Isle by Carrie Rhea? Not sure. And then the last book I was kind of gifted but kind of bought myself. I just paid for shipping. I bought it from Ryland. And that is Alice Feeney's Good Bad Girl. This is the last Alice Feeney, her most recent, besides the one that's coming out soon, I believe, or just came out. But this is the most recent book from her that I've not read yet, but I should be reading in December. So that's the book haul, all the books I hauled. Not too many, but kind of a lot. So it's fine. We'll get over it. It's okay. Now we're gonna go into my wrap-ups, and this I will still split up from month to month. So we'll go over October 1st, all my stats, and then the books I read, and then we'll do the same thing for November. So kicking off October, my stats were, I read a total of 5 books. That came out to 1,578 pages. The genre breakdown was 3 romance and 2 thrillers. And then my formats were 3 ebooks and 2 physical. So let's jump into the books that I read. So the first book I read was Chase Our Forever by Kat Singleton. This is book 3 in the Sutton Mountain series, and I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not gonna go super in depth, but as always, all of these books have full reviews on my Goodreads and my Storygraph, also my Amazon if you want to check there too. So I'm just gonna give you guys like a quick synopsis essentially, and then maybe like a few sentences about my thoughts. So this book follows Liv. She's on a road trip because she didn't have a super great childhood, and she finally saved up enough money to go on a road trip and try to find her new destination. On her drive, she ends up stopping in Sutton Mountain and spends the day in the coffee shop there, meets a couple of the people who live there, and Sutton Mountain is a very small town. So she ends up hanging out and falling in love with the place, and then in walks Dean. He is a single dad to his daughter Clara, and he's having a lot of trouble keeping a nanny. When Clara is dropped off at the bakery or coffee shop that Liv is hanging out at, she's meant to hang out with like the owner and the girl who works there just to help Dean out, but she clicks with Liv almost immediately. So Dean is like, all right, I'll give you like, he's like, if you're interested, I'll give you an interview to be my live-in nanny, and we could see what happens from there. So they have the interview, obviously she gets the job, and the rest goes from there. I really loved the like found family aspect in this book with Liv. Dean is a very troubled man. He's been through some stuff, and now he has been raising Clara all by himself, so he's had it really hard, but I really loved their connection. I also really loved Liv's connection with Clara. So overall, it was a very fun time. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Finding Hayes by Laura Pavlov. This is the 5th and final book in the Magnolia Falls series. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book follows Savannah and Hayes. Savannah and Hayes were besties growing up. They were inseparable, and then suddenly Savannah leaves town out of nowhere and completely cuts off contact with everyone. A few years later, I think it's like 10 years or something, down the road, Savannah returns to Magnolia Falls because of a passing, like a funeral of someone she was very close to when she lived there, and one of the few people she actually kept in touch with. So when she goes back for the funeral, she realizes that she's actually getting an inheritance from this person who passed away, but there are some stipulations that go along with getting her inheritance. So we follow them as they develop a arranged marriage so that Savannah could get what she is owed, and then obviously feelings arise, things happen. I loved this one. I loved the history, and I felt like sometimes when there's such a long gap and there's like one person ghosting the other, it doesn't fully make sense to me. But with this book, I completely understand where Savannah was coming from and why she felt the need to just leave without talking to Hayes. So I totally get that, and I really loved it. I loved their chemistry. I always love small towns because of the community that it builds, and I loved it all. It was great, beautiful. The next book I read was A Friend in the Dark by Samantha M. Bailey. This is a thriller. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. This book follows Eden. Her daughter has just gone off to college, and her husband kind of out of nowhere tells Eden that it's not working out, that he wants a divorce. So Eden's entire life is flipped on its head, and she has no idea what to do with herself. She sees an old friend that she sort of almost had a fling with in high school or college. I don't know which one. She sees his profile on Facebook and impulsively decides to message him. She wasn't expecting for him to message back, but when he does, things start moving really quick. But things are not always as they seem. So like I said, I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like for most of the book it was kind of slow. It was a bit of a slow burn, and I didn't know which way that it was going to go, but it did take it in a route that I wasn't expecting at first. A little bit way through the book, I already guessed what like the twist was, but then there was like more. Like there was the twist and then everything kind of went wild. So I did enjoy it. The ending was everywhere, but overall it was a fun time. The next book I read was The Unraveling by V. Keeland. This is also a thriller, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This follows our psychiatrist Meredith as she's just trying to live her life. She runs into this man named Gabriel who seemingly doesn't know who she is, but she knows who he is because she was at the hospital the day Gabriel's life took an entire turn and he lost his entire family essentially. So she was there, so she knows what he's been through, but he doesn't seem to remember her from the hospital. So she is very curious about him because he seems like he's living his life like he's happy. So she ends up becoming fixated on him to try to figure out like how he's happy after his entire world basically just crumbled. And then obviously that builds into a lot more. And yeah, so I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's definitely a fast read. There were parts that I was expecting. There were parts that I wasn't expecting. But overall, it was a very engaging read. And I did enjoy my time with it. And then the last book that I read in the month of October was Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. This is a small town paranormal romance, and I annotated it because this was the October pick for the Mending Hearts book club. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was honestly so much fun. I wasn't super sure what to expect when I seen that there was like a paranormal ghost aspect, but I thought that that was a grand time. So this follows Cassie. Cassie moves to Boneyard Key, I believe is the name, after wanting to just start over. She's been in the city so long that she kind of just wants to go back to a coastal small town. She ends up buying this house that everybody say is haunted, but she's not fully on board with all of that, so she doesn't know what to expect. While she's in this house, weird things starts happening. So she ends up going to the coffee shop down the street where she meets Nick. Nick has lived in Boneyard Key for all of his life. He is now trying to help Cassie realize the reality of all of the ghosts and spookiness that is in this town, instead of just thinking that it is a like tourist trap. So that's this book. So much fun. Really, really enjoyed it. The banter was so fun. I really loved the ghost aspect. I didn't think that it was too overbearing, but it was just great. I feel like Cassie was amazing. I loved Nick. It was just a great adventure. I loved the story of like the actual town and getting to know a little bit more of that history. So 5 out of 5 for this. So that is all for October. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump into November. And even though I read more books than I did in October, this one might take significantly shorter time to go over. So in the month of November, I read 9 books, and that came out to 1,649 pages. My genres were 7 romance, 1 fantasy, and 1 nonfiction. And then my formats were 6 ebooks and 3 physical books. Let us jump straight in. The first book that I read in the month of November was Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. This is a Minotaur romance, and it was honestly so much fun. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. So this book follows our main character, Aspeth. Her name is very difficult for me to say, but anyways, this follows our main girl, Aspeth. So she's the holder's daughter, and she is just supposed to like live her lavish life, but nobody on the outside knows that her father has kind of gone downhill and just started selling all of their artifacts. So Aspeth is determined to save her father and their kingdom, I'm not really sure the terminology here, by going undercover into the Artifacts Guild to find more valuable artifacts to bring back home, so that nobody can find out that they're actually poor and like take over their land or whatever. And while she's there, she runs into our Minotaur, who is sort of like one of the teachers for the Artifact Guild, so that she could become an actual artifactor. She has to go through like this school. So the problem is that Aspeth didn't realize that she needed a chaperone. So she needed someone to, I guess, like approve or like watch her in order for her to join the schooling of the Artifactual Guild. And our main guy Hawk here, our Minotaur, is about to undergo a moon situation, and when this moon arises, his sole purpose in his brain is to breed. So that's all he wants to do. It kind of goes wild. There are many ways for him to do that. Usually they use like brothels and stuff, but he is a man of honor, so he doesn't like to do that. He likes to just stick with one girl throughout this moon season that lasts a few days, I believe. So Aspeth needs a chaperone. Hawk wants a wife. Arranged marriage, perfect. That is what this book is about. It's about Aspeth and Hawk and their seemingly arranged marriage and the Artifact Guild, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really thought that it was so entertaining. I actually would, I am looking forward to where the next book is going. This book was wrapped up very nicely. There wasn't any cliffhanger, so I think the next book will probably be like a companion novel. But this was my first Minotaur book, and I thought it was entertaining. I had a lot of fun with it. It was very easy to read, and I loved all the adventures that Aspeth was going on. Aspeth was a very interesting character because she's very like sheltered and ignorant to the way that the world actually worked, and Hawk seen that. Hawk was like, all right, she has no clue what she's doing. She genuinely just wanted to save her father and find these valuable artifacts, but things don't go to plan, and I loved it. I loved the side characters that we got to meet, and it was just honestly lots of fun. Also a gorgeous edition, or I think all the books are like that, so it's just a gorgeous book in general. So the next 5 books I'm gonna go over kind of all wrap 5, maybe 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so the next 5 books that I'm gonna go over, they all wrap into one, and they're all novellas, so it's gonna go super quick. So the next thing that I read was the Under the Mistletoe Amazon Prime novellas. So there are 5 novellas. I'm gonna give you the book name and my rating and maybe like a couple sentences, but these are all a part of a vlog that is coming out later this month for Bookmas. So if you would like further thoughts, that is coming soon. So the first book in this series was Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This basically is like forced proximity because she is stuck with her childhood crush in a house during a snowstorm, essentially. The next one is Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. It honestly just wasn't my favorite. The next one is All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. I gave this one 2.5. This is coworkers who get trapped in, well, they're not really trapped in a car, but they're in a road trip together, and they never really realize that the other person was into them, and things escalate, I guess. The next one is Merriment and Mayhem by Alexandria Bellafleur. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. This follows a girl who is currently in her grandmother's house to try to put it on the market because her grandmother just passed away, and she keeps running into this hot firefighter who keeps having to save the day. Then the last one in this series is Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Daria. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, and this basically follows neighbors, an upstairs neighbor and a downstairs neighbor. They ran into each other. There was definitely like feelings there, but neither one of them admitted to anything. They all get invited by someone else in the building for a Santa's only party, so they meet up there and things escalate rather quickly. So those are the 5 novellas that I read, and now we'll go into the last 3 books that I read. So the next book I read was Broken Harbor by Catherine Cowles. This is book 3 in the Sparrow Falls series, small town suspense, and I loved it. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book is about a single mom and her son's hockey coach. It's very fun. She has a past that she's running from, and our hockey hero here, whose name is Cope, he is just a very grumpy guy. He's not someone who is big on talking or letting people in his space, but he's also going through a lot, which is why he got sent back to Sparrow Falls to coach this like little league team for that Sutton's son is currently a part of, and they kind of get off on the wrong foot, but quickly that is resolved. But I really loved this book. It was so good, and I loved the banter. I love the small town of Sparrow Falls. I love how everyone just really helps Sutton and her situation. It's just great. I love this book. I love this series. This series is amazing. The next book I read was Now and Not Yet by Ruth Cho Simons, not sure, but this is the nonfiction book that I read. It is a Christian book, so this book has no rating, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I read it, I guess. So that was the book I read, not much on there. And then the last book I read was Just Don't Fall by Emma St. Clair. This was for the November pick of the Mending Hearts book club, and this is also small town hockey. This follows our main character Parker, who is the social media manager of this hockey team, and her childhood crush, brother's ex-best friend, Logan, was just sent down from the NHL to be on this hockey team, and yeah, he disappeared 10 years ago without a word. Now he's back with the forced proximity with Parker, and they're trying to figure out if there's something there, and all of that stuff. But Logan really hates everything to do with what Parker's job is, because she's the social media manager, so she has to make him do like TikToks and stuff. So that's them. And I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. I liked the beginning a lot more than the ending. I did feel like it started to drag at some points, and then towards, like, as it kept going, I just stopped caring more and more about the characters. So then by the end, I was just like, all right. But that's fine. Also annotated this book. And yeah, so that is that. Those are all of the books that I read in October and November, and all of the books that I acquired in both months as well. So that is all from me. If you've read any of these books, or if any of them are on your radar, let me know. Or let me know a great book that you have read recently. But that is all from me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!